like on the codes.
Starting?
That was it.
9 o'clock, we have 15 seconds to go, but I'll call the meeting to order. So, it's okay?
Can you hear us? Can you guys hear us?
Tom, Doug, can you hear us?
Yes,
Hi, we're coming in loud and clear, yes?
loud and clear.
All set. Good evening.
Call the meeting to order then. First item is the minutes from February 9th.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Audience of citizen? Have none?
We have citizens just not here.
You can put Don's quote in. Locker room facility update. Yes,
Do you and Don want to start off, or you want me to start off?
Well, you by all means.
Okay, well, some good news is that Brian Grant from Newfield actually cranked out a magnificent cost estimate for the PD project, which actually correlates pretty well with Brian Humes'. So the two Brians are compatible. So, and he broke it out into phases, which is really handy, which I think Don and Tom will get into in a minute or so, right? So we broke it out into phase 1, 2, 3, and actually included the that add-on that the BOE storage, unit, the sort of last minute add-on as well. But and that's factored into the total cost. So I broke it out, but it's about 5 million with all the escalation and contingencies and all that stuff in current day, and it's pretty damn detailed. I mean, the backup to it is it's like one of Fogarty's or what's that other company that did it? Whatever, those two professional estimators, just as detailed, vision related, all the breakouts are there.
Yep.
So, and they literally cranked it out, I think, in under a week and a half. So we have now, we're got a sort of a,
we have an opinion and an
Great.
affirmation. Of
yeah, from a CM.
Yep.
So it's great to work with. And I guess Don or Tanya, you can sort of go into the,
Well,
Humes,
Mike, Don, and I met. What's today? Thursday. We met last week with.
And it was last
Brian
Thursday,
Hughes. It
actually.
was last a week ago today, yeah. At his offices to talk about the town council's reaction to the police department and what might be going on. And we just had a general discussion about possibility of putting the project into 3 to the minimum of 2, but maybe 3 separate projects, not phases, separate projects, so that we could keep the project cost below $5 million. Town does not appear to want to go through the time and the headache and hassle of a public referendum. And with the cost being, fluid, with what's going on now, it would be, the questions are all going to be focused on how much is it going to cost, and the notion of, well, we don't really know how much it's going to cost would probably not play well at a referendum. So we talked about whether we could get the project into a sort of a status where we do get approval for one portion of the project, and then maybe hire a CM for us to do the entire project, but do it in steps so that we can present the town council with a budget for each step. And there's ways to do it. And in fact, Brian Grant, we didn't even ask them about it. Maybe Mike did.
No, he picked up, he actually attended
Oh,
the
that's
last
right.
PVC meeting and
Yes.
he heard it and he understood the funding struggle.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was very perceptive, and he said, look, this is what he gave to Mike. If you guys read it, is very good, very detailed, and corroborates what Brian Humes said we could do at the meeting, which is to do, when you're looking at the map there, the first part of this renovation project in
And that-
red, do that. And then perhaps halfway through accomplishing those renovations, go for approval of blue. And then also see where see where the funds are, see where the funding is, see where the I guess the town attitude towards going far or staying close to the vest is, or a possible third one, which might be an addition for the Board of Education. Canopies, there's other things that we don't have to put in the first approval. But if we get a CM for the entire job, we can have some consistency through the project.
You know, keeping consistent with what's already happened for the police station is, let's say the first project, standalone project, was the jail cells. They were done, completed. The second standalone project was the dispatch room. And then I believe there's another project for the bathrooms that happened. So staying in consistent with that, the next project will be the locker room renovation. And then the project after that will be the balance of the station, the police station. So again, the way it's going to be listed in all the drawings, it's renovations to the town hall, and that's it.
Right.
That's really
They all
the biggest part that they
brought
need
a
right
good
now.
point out, what Brian is doing I guess he's been doing
It was-
senior citizen,
Yeah.
senior citizen, that's, but he also did another police station, Danbury. They did not write police renovations on the drawing so that people look in the public for security purposes. They just put the address down. Brian Grant said the same thing for security purposes. They're not doing that anymore. Just, people can go on the internet and see what's going on here. And it's a little bit of a hole in quote security. So it also prevents people from taking unnecessary hot shots at what you might be doing. You have to know the address. So from here on in, it's not going to be called police department renovations. It's got to be renovations at the 107.
I think he actually put 240 Kensington Road.
240
Yeah,
Kensington Road. He actually put them on.
yeah.
So all those little things came out of the meeting, and I think Brian Hughes was, I'd call him very positive about, yep, it's something we could do, certainly willing to do. He's very accommodating. And I thought it was actually a very good way to go. Now the issue is going to be making sure that the people who do approve this, i.e. the town council and the
Board of Finance.
Board of Finance, understand what's going on and get with it. And I think with all the work we've done, it's hard, it's a lot easier for them to come in with something that's much closer to concrete than it was 2 weeks ago.
And Brian pointed out that it's actually perfect to break the project up because this is all empty space and you're not displacing anyone in the PD, so their normal operations can continue. Except for maybe for the bathrooms up front, but really you're not displacing anyone out of their office. So all this work can go on and the PD can run as normal. And he even said as far as the mechanicals, they can do things where they just have it ready for the next project.
Right.
You know,
They can
like
cap
where these,
pipes and
yeah,
all that
things
sort of
going,
stuff.
but I think there will be
Welded,
things, yeah, feeding this space from the mechanical rooms, but whatever. So it almost sounds like it was that this project can be independent and not affect the PD.
Well, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a standalone,
Yeah.
it's a standalone
And it's-
project.
The
that's
pricing
actually-
reflects
Yeah.
the way we have it broken up.
Yeah, and so when Brian granted his, like say, it's in round numbers, $3.2 million.
Yeah.
Now that's construction costs, so you're gonna CM on top of that, so
Right.
there's room for.
It's
up to
still
that.
below
The
I
5
mean,
mil,
it's easily below a 5 million threshold.
And I think he might have actually put in soft, yeah, he did put
He did.
soft costs in, yeah, so I
Now,
mean,
that's
well, that's what
assuming,
the soft-
I mean, that's his estimate, but that, they,
Yeah.
I found that Bluefield's very good with their estimates. They were,
So the only downside, if any, it's a very minor downside, is we're the engineers, the MEP contractors, we're in the design. Because they're gonna have to split it.
pretty
So-
excited.
Yeah, so they may have to do a little redrawing on their part.
Right.
So he's gonna come back to us if there's any cost for that.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was,
But it allowed, that's just an additional cost, which
Correct.
will enable us to do this kind of thing rather than go
Correct.
through what might be the fifth iteration of the police department since I've been. I mean, this thing's been kicking around,
Years.
for years, and how they've managed to do this with the help of the town has been pretty good because they haven't gotten a lot of support. So,
He's still on target for the delivery date that he told us originally for the drawings. Correct? He didn't
Yeah,
move off
no,
that
no.
delivery date.
And he copied me on an email they sent to his consultants afterwards, telling them the deal, that now it's just this.
Right. that went out the next
Yeah,
day.
and yeah, exactly. He corrected them and basically explained the whole thing. So he's on it, his team's on it, which is really good news because the referendum would have probably, it wouldn't have went well, I think.
Well, it would have been time consuming too. I
Yeah,
mean, we
you'd
were,
have to
you know,
wait
you'd be
till
talking, you never,
fall, too.
trying to
Yeah.
pull this stuff all together
Yeah.
is very difficult.
Anytime you look for a vote, it's crunch.
Yeah. I still think it's gonna be a challenge with the 3.2 million because,
Were you worried about the overall number for getting,
yeah, I know.
you talked about the creek?
Well,
going on?
one good thing about the creek is that I think in this, I think the Board of Ed space, which added $1 million, if it added a nickel. I
Well,
think that's out.
yeah, well, we
It has
told,
to be out.
It has to be out.
Yeah.
And I think the Board of Ed has already gotten some money to start doing what they're doing. And I think the town is gonna, somebody could sit like a Dutch uncle with the Board of Ed saying, hey, you guys gotta do this and get this.
Yeah.
So by the time they got to their face, they've already done their thing.
yeah, well, the thing is too, and Kevin reminded me of this too, that the town is paying for them scanning all their files, and they've already started a big batch. I think the first thing was like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
It was all Board of Ed getting scanned and archived and everything else. So they're already moving. That's several $100,000. I mean, the whole thing is 400 grand.
Right.
All in with the town and the BOE, and then they get the $40,000, which I sent around, showing that they actually have started moving stuff into some other space where, so there's a program, they're getting funding from almost like for two different elements of their scanning and relocation sort of whatever project, whatever it's called. So,
Now, Brian didn't think there would be any issue mechanically or anything with if we just did this space, it's not gonna affect other spaces.
you had asked.
Yeah, I asked that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't think it'd be a problem because everything for that space will be in that space.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's the other sides when we get into the other spaces, but those air handlers will be there. The question was on hot water and cold water lines, stuff like that going back and forth where you said we could valve it,
Okay, right.
and then pick it up in the new renovation. So we'll have to look and see what actually comes through, but that was what we anticipated.
Because this would have been phase one anyway, right?
Correct.
Right.
It always was.
So
right.
it was already.
But then Brian looked to me like when he was in his itemization and stuff, there are things in there for valves, for capping that it doesn't sound like it's gonna be a really insurmountable issue at all with that space.
Yeah, Brian, I was surprised he took it so well, but considering this like a mid-course correction, and it's actually for the funding, on the funding side of things, it's giving this project.
He's gotta know every
Life.
square inch of that damn building. Years he spent.
I know, yeah. And actually, and he was in the design, and as far as the building goes, the invoice you got, he sent the design development set that I forwarded to you guys as well after he sent the invoice in, and it looked like the mechanicals weren't in there. It was more ceiling plan demo and, layout stuff. So it's probably a good time for this to happen, not when it was further along with the.
I see it like my job, home subdivision, I want to break out the faces.
Yeah.
Redoing goddamn plans for each little phase.
Right.
Already designed the whole thing. So.
Yeah. So,
So and I was happy to see all this, the memo and see Brian did that, great. But the next step is gonna be, from our standpoint, obviously the town council felt uncomfortable based on reading the tea leaves in that meeting. Who gets them comfortable again? Is that us? Is that in the information? Is that you and Kevin? Is that-
I
is that-
already gave Arosh and Kevin a general update on this.
Okay.
So if you want, I'm gonna be probably at, I guess I will be at the next town council meeting. So if you want, I could do an update there. And
Well,
now
I'm
the
just,
thing-
I'm thinking out
yeah,
loud
I mean-
from all of us, what's the best way
Yeah.
for, I want to support the police station. Now, normally I know I
So-
say I'd be neutral.
Yeah.
But I think in this instance, they've been hunched around for so long that I think we owe it to them to present this properly in a way that people will understand and not have these numbers. I also understand the town council. When I read the reaction, I thought, geez, if I was here, I don't know if I'd want to go in first. People, I don't, trust us. It'll cost.
Yeah.
No, but now we have something that is.
They were concerned about the number not being here. So no,
Right.
no, no.
We have two numbers
We
now.
have numbers
Well,
and we
yeah.
have the number affirmed
Right,
by someone yet again who like and is very confident.
So the way I would present it is, I get hold of Brian, have him put together two boards for you. First board is showing this renovation project, and the second board is showing a future renovation project.
Right.
And just list it that way. And it takes place, it's consistent with what we did in the cells, what we did with the dispatch. This is just the next
Right.
iteration of that.
It meets the statement of need that we got.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
right.
that and then give that to, I don't know if we give it
Well,
to Kevin or
well,
Mike
what I-
or the,
What I would do is get the boards together. Yeah, and have the financial side of it, but also get the buy-in from the police commission.
right.
And have them sitting there with you at the meeting saying that they're 100% supportive of this.
Now, before we do that, we should probably, and I'll be glad to. We have to do some work.
Yeah.
To make sure people understand this and not
Right.
surprise, no surprises at a meeting where I never heard about that, is to go over that and make sure it meets their needs.
And Brian doesn't need to come to the meeting for it.
Right.
I think Tom can probably present it best, and yourself, Mike, as well. And then you have I take that estimate you have and just broke that out into just the phase for this with the soft cost project. That's it. Take
Yeah.
everything else off of it
right.
and have
okay.
that on one of the boards.
Jason, you are so efficient.
And then you can do a handout for this next phase, and a handout with the budget from town council.
Yeah,
And then
and,
they have it.
and well, I heard also at the Board of Finance and Town Council, it was like, they're desperate for real numbers, like, oh, well, this now, I mean, this has just been, it validates what Brian Hughes did, or his team did, and this is the CM that, you guys are.
I mean, I would love to
with.
have
They're in
it.
the
Well,
biz.
they're-
They're currently doing the police station.
Yeah,
they
North
are.
Branford,
And these
North
numbers
Branford,
came
right.
right off of that.
yeah,
So we feel
Yeah.
very confident in this number, is what I would say.
And the total, it's less right now, because it was 6.5, going up to 6.5.
Right, well,
Now
it stands to reason, it
little
would be
over
less,
$5
but we
million.
also don't forget that we cut out the canopy, we cut out the $1 million for the Board of Ed.
Right.
Stuff that was never,
So it's more in line to what.
but
they were-
now it's a phase that if we just do this, if the question is, well, what if we just do this and don't improve the rest? Okay, we can live with that. So can the police department for a while.
But that's the police commission can say that.
Right.
That's why you want them on your, so let them explain it. We're fine with this. We understand this is gonna take 2023, 2024 to complete this. We're fine with that. And then the next phase is funding becomes available. The next job, we'll do the next renovation.
Right, but this is the most critical part of all of the rest of the police station requests. So it'd be nice to knock this out. It's also the biggest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is gonna give them a lot, and if they don't get the rest, for whatever reason.
When's the next meeting?
it's next. You know when the next Town Council meeting is?
Maybe next Thursday?
Four.
April 4th.
Okay. Quite a ways out.
Yeah,
So,
but,
but I'd rather not go to the town council meeting, present that right away. I'd rather talk to somebody there, talk to Kevin, the chief of police or whoever is his designate, and maybe the mayor.
do you understand,
somebody from the town council ahead of time.
want to set up a meeting?
Yeah.
I
So,
should.
should we get Brian Hughes's, boards?
Yeah,
We have this
yeah,
already,
first, Right.
Get that blown up. So, you can put that up as a board. And
right?
also have the handouts ready. And then the first group I would hit was the police commission. Get
Yeah.
them to buy in, make sure
Right.
they're good with it. And the police chief is part of that, so you kill about 4 birds with 1 stone.
Right.
And then from there, you got to present to the town council, then after that, probably to the board of finance.
That meeting that was, that we all saw, was there anybody from the police commission at that?
The video that you sent out?
The video, yeah.
The police chief or deputy chief are usually involved because they're always asking.
Yeah, I
There's always an
couldn't figure
agenda
out what- I
item.
mean, there was a lot, it was
Yeah.
two people dominating the conversation.
Yeah.
And three, actually, Mike, who was off
Yeah,
camera.
I can't,
And then
I don't
Kevin
remember
and-
specifically, but they're usually in there or they're
Yeah.
monitoring because there's
Yeah.
always some police car item or something on the agenda.
So
Okay.
for the good of the order, that's what happened last week, and that's where we are, and I think it represents progress,
It was a good
very
week,
good progress.
good week.
Let's see.
Next item.
I think that's, well, you have the invoice
All
there.
right, oh, yes, I have an invoice from Quincy Hume. Under 23/055, dated February 15th. For services rendered to date. And it is for $22,500. Leaving a balance of $247,500.
Make a motion, we pay the bill for 22,500. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good. Then, speaking of the Board of Ed, HVAC upgrades.
Okay, Brian Grant is taking one of his daughters to a show tonight, so he can't be here either on Zoom or whatever. But he
Okay.
gave me a nice detailed update, and I'll just go through it quick with you, and then
Sure.
Doug can chime in too on a few things. Hey Doug, did they do the walkthrough today?
Correct. Yeah. Today at 2, they were there.
Okay, yeah, so it was Pat, what's his name, Pat O'Laughlin? And what, Fryer and CES as well?
Correct.
So they were worried about, and one of the things they were worried about were fire rated partitions, because I think in McGee, they found that the wall, once they pull the ceilings down, the walls did not go up to the deck.
Right.
So then it was, and you guys probably remember
Yeah, I
that.
remember,
So they,
yeah.
yeah, so they went out and did a little bit of checking, and what Brian said was that the
Wait a
89,
minute,
90,
we're not doing it.
I'm sorry?
We're not doing.
No, but it was a lesson learned from McGee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
When they pulled them down, there was
Yeah.
extras because they had to extend it
Right.
up to get the
Right.
fire rated partition between, I guess, the hallway and the classrooms or
Yep,
whatever, you
yep.
know? So,
But always an egress. port.
yeah, lesson learned there.
Yeah.
So he said the 89, 90 edition doesn't appear to have any issues regarding overhead space, top of wall conditions, straightforward. The 56 building, however, is tight on space as they anticipated and appears to have some top of wall conditions that will have to be addressed during the HVAC project.
And this
So
is in Willard? Or
this is
all-
in Willard. This is in Willard. Yeah, this is just focusing on Willard.
No, is it masonry top wall issues?
Were you there, Doug?
No, I wasn't there in person to verify. I'm going to follow up with Brian.
Could be a seismic issue. Because back when they built them, then there wasn't the seismic requirements there are today.
Oh, okay.
So you have to put, tabs at the top of the wall.
Right. I
During
think
the
you
seismic
mentioned that
event.
too. Yeah, it was not
Yeah.
just fire rating, it was
Yes.
something else.
So
Yeah.
that's probably what it is.
Okay.
You're gonna need to design it from a structural engineer. If that's the case.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And then, so Pat, oh, by the way, this is your new project manager. I sent the resume out to you, the day after the last meeting. He's been with Newfield since 2018 and has done, I highlighted the school project he's been involved in, but he's, looks pretty experienced and a Newfield vet. So
Got a good
that's,
mugshot.
that's the guy. Okay, in case you run into him in one of the schools.
Yeah.
At least I'll say, show you the picture. And this was sent around to you guys the day after the last meeting. When
It's
the,
like he was born where they build a lot of stone houses, stone walls.
yeah. So anyway, Pat, our new man, will be sending around a map and some photos probably tomorrow, they said, about the results of the walkthrough. Let's see.
So you walk through with the proposed general contractors or,
No, CES and fire.
oh,
Yeah.
when are we gonna
More of
try to
an
get,
inspection?
What?
Just more of an inspection.
I think it was a pre-construction check, and they probably, I know they were gonna bring ladders and pop up through the ceiling to see what's going on. And the other thing I did get back, which is not on his update, was, I know when you guys did the walkthrough, you're worried about the millwork and the unit ventilators. and I think I sent this around, but Brian confirmed they looked at that and he said the unit ventilators will have brake metal extensions that will infill on the gaps between the existing mill work and the existing unit vents. So they're sensitized to that. So hopefully that'll take care of that. Continuing with Brian's update, Flyer and CES are updating their drawings and specs. Maybe they'll be out within a week or so. Brian's group is getting the front end documents together, special project requirements, phasing, logistics, bid package notes, allowances, unit prices, etc. They've already had, I think, at least, Doug, they've had at least 2 design development meetings, two constructability meetings and design review meetings on Bluebeam or whatever.
Yeah.
I was on one and Doug was on. Doug and I were on the first one. I think the second one they got really into nitty gritty, and then they're going to have another one. Let's see, later next week, pin everything down. Their tentative schedule: go out to bid the week of March 27th. Have a 4-week bid period, which would put the bids due on April 20th. Scope reviews on April 24th, and a recommendation for contract award by April 27th. Now, I don't know if that factors in town council. Wait a second. Oh, you guys, can you just, no, we have to get the appropriation approved, right? By the town council?
Yeah, well, what we got to do is get the bids and know what the actual numbers
Right.
are, and then we can present on that.
Right, but what I'm factoring in is town council meeting is not probably factored into Brian's schedule, so there may be a little bit of a,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, if we have to have a PDC, a special meeting.
Yeah.
To get ready so that we meet what the
We'll do it.
town council.
Right.
Will do it.
so we'll also look at the town council meeting and just let Brian know,
Right.
maybe whatever, factor it in, so. Okay, good. And then, so going on from there, so April 27th, contract recommendation for contract award. Hopefully the contract by the first week of May, which will still leaves a good 5 to 6 weeks to start submittals, kickoff meetings, prior to the last day of school and construction mode. One thing that I didn't know about, is, I guess you mentioned, Doug, you mentioned the VAT, vinyl asbestos tile removal last week. And he said it's something we have to pin down, so I don't know anything about that, so I figured you'd give an update on that.
Yeah, just we know the hallways are hot, which are not really in the scope. We retested the classrooms in both areas of the school. We'll have those results tomorrow just to add that to the project file. The only concern is the impact of the new fan coils to the existing unit ventilators. If the tile is going to be disturbed, if it is hot in those classrooms, we just want to have that incorporated into the project. That's all.
No, is it the tile hot or the mastic under it?
In the original part of the building, both in the corridors, we're confirming the classrooms with the latest testing. To
So
see
do we need to put any special notes to the bidders that they're going to have to cover where they're working in the hallways, put protection board down or something?
Right, yeah, once we want to incorporate that into the bid specs and then address the classrooms once we get the latest results. There, we talked about this internally, that should we take advantage of the fact that the building shut down this summer and do an abatement outside of the project, just to take advantage of that. I know it's not really in the plans and specs, but that's really our opportunity that's really the last school with any ACM that we need to address. So it's a good opportunity for us and the board to take care of that once and for all, hopefully.
I just make the recommendation that you do it after we're done with the project, because you don't know what's going to happen to those
Right.
floors during the project,
Oh, right,
even if we protect them. I hate to have new floors put in and we trash them.
right,
Plus it could affect the schedule. You're
Right.
doing abatement.
They're just gonna be all over each other. You remember how
Just some
many
project
cords
here.
and lines there were at McGee when we did, doing that. It's like running through one of those football fields.
We're trying to see if it's acceptable to leave just the concrete, polished concrete during construction for a year or two, and then, like Don mentioned, do the finished floor once the project's done.
Because all we're talking about the first year of the project, I think we're really talking about putting a large bore of piping in. Is really, that's the big thing that goes down the hallways.
right.
Once we get that done, then the follow-up is just putting equipment in place, which is pretty, let's call it a low traffic issue instead of a heavy traffic issue. So I think really if we could get that large bore piping done, and as soon as that's done, you can have at it in the hallways. Don't forget, we're probably going to take most of the ceilings out in those hallways to get the large bore piping in.
I think he said all of the ceilings.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, I think he said the whole thing should come down to make it easier for them to put them,
Yeah.
down the halls, but
And I think part of the plans and specs too is, I don't think initially it incorporated all new acoustical, I think they're updating that as well.
I think that's a discussion. That should be a good discussion for the architect. Why go back to the ceilings at all?
Right.
We talked about that.
And blacken it out and
during the
just
walk.
put lights in. It's only in a lower level, and then it leaves it open for you guys later if you need maintenance or anything. It's real easy access. Real easy access. That's something we should talk to the architect about and get that figured out now.
Is that the only area we're taking the ceilings out completely? Is the lower level?
Yeah. Yeah, because it services upstairs. That services that level, and then upstairs just goes up through the back of the rooms.
Yeah.
Is the way I saw it on the
Was
drawing.
has anyone talked to the school about, are they gonna be okay with the ceilings off at the start of the school year?
Well, these are all things that we have to put down on our list and talk to people about it. To Don's point. I asked last week whether,
Does that mean?
or last meeting, do we get the principal involved? And it's too soon, but because there'd be too many what ifs. You come up with something and then say, okay, this is what we recommend. You can not necessarily refute, but you can answer any questions that the school might have with concrete stuff instead of, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. The people who are going to be living there, who can't visualize in their minds what it's going to be like, need a little bit more specificity, I think. That's
If
been
there-
my
if there is
experience.
sprinklers, it goes simple because it's just turned up
Turn the
headset.
heads up, right, and that's it.
You're done.
Yeah.
It makes it real easy.
So,
I told these guys in New Jersey, this is being done extensively. There's a million old buildings that have decent ceiling heights in New Jersey, retail, old machine shops, think New Britain on steroids. And nobody's putting ceilings in, they're all putting in, it's really nice lighting, it's dark, there's shadows. But
Right on
you don't even, and then lighting is what makes the difference. If it's well lit, nobody even looks up. You don't even know. If you ask somebody,
It
hey, was there a
disappears.
ceiling there?
It disappears.
I don't know, it's gone.
They put the new LED lighting in, it's bright, so it blinds you a little bit.
yeah,
Right? And they have all sorts of different lights, not big things like this, but a lot of indirect lighting.
yeah.
And it's the thing down there. And everything is painted from, like
Well,
8
let's
feet
talk to the
up.
architect and see what they say. There may be some sense. to
Is
it.
that something that Brian Grant should be bringing up to his team, or do you want,
It's gotta come from us.
okay, so, but should I reach out directly to Fryer on that, or should I reach out to Brian?
Whoever the architect. is.
Okay,
Talk to him.
Fryer,
And
okay,
tell them we want to see some renderings of schools they've done in the past where they took the ceilings out.
okay,
Right.
And then we'll look, because the Board of Ed's gonna want to see it
right,
before we do it.
well, yeah. I don't think they'd want to be surprised.
They
You
would
don't like
know too what
surprises?
it looks like above that ceiling, and who knows what's
Well,
up there.
yeah,
It
well,
could be a
I
mess.
remember, weren't there a lot of cables, like fiber optic, or
There's all
telecom,
sorts of
like
cables.
laying right on top of the grid?
But a lot of this, they saw the same thing. What I saw in New Jersey.
Yeah,
There's a lot of conduits. So there might be 6 or 7 pipes, but
yeah,
they look a lot better.
I think
Yeah.
They're not organized. They just threw the wires up.
well,
That's the thing that.
when we went through, I thought I was seeing a lot of spaghetti,
Right,
yeah.
'cause I was seeing spaghetti, that's conduits. Yeah, like
Spaghetti
yellow,
explosion.
like, whatever that.
But you
Yeah.
could tie them together. I mean, there's a way to
Yeah.
neaten it up. And, to make, if that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do. And there's definitely a way to neaten it up and to hide it. You can build L brackets and not do that. Yeah, but you know what? It costs acoustical tile ceiling. It's not cheap either. You gotta get somebody to put it in. It's not all expense. There's some savings with not putting in ceilings.
Okay.
But Brian,
New business.
Okay,
all right. Anything else?
I think that takes care of any invoices that no, nothing.
No, we got it.
All right, good.
All right, any new business? Getting ready for St. Patrick's Day?
Yes,
That's what
sir.
it is. Any old business? Have you recovered from last year's St. Patrick's Day?
Yes, I have.
And then the closeout status of the high school. Any update on that? That anybody knows anything about?
Not for me.
Nothing further we've heard back from.
Yeah, you'll probably be the first person to hear. Somebody will score.
But as far as that goes, I think everything that we could is submitted to the state now. And we're just waiting to hear back their comments from audit, correct?
The clock's ticking on the audit, so we're we're waiting for the state to respond and give us a date.
What do they have? They have about another year on that audit, right?
I believe unless it changed, it was 6 months from when we submitted the paperwork.
Oh, okay.
To hear a response. So we have to check with Kevin if he's heard anything. But he has an
Yeah, we
update.
should that date that it's due, so that
Okay.
we're aware of it, and I don't want to bug the state, but you know what? Right before the end of it, we ought to anticipate that something might be coming.
David,
Yeah, and I know, I think Kevin said last time he was involved with this, he was sending almost like every couple of weeks reminders and follow-ups to the state to find out, to make sure it was on their
Weeks
radar.
aren't nothing.
What?
Weeks are nothing.
Yeah, we don't even know if there's
Usually it's every
people.
day.
Yeah,
Well, there are most of them.
Okay, so for
What
the
they-
next,
retired by
a
now.
lot of them could have been laid off. We have no idea. Could have-
The guy that started the project, he's probably retired.
Sure. I mean, that happens. Hey, Tom Smith's retired.
Every 6 months, people go.
That's right. So,
all right, so I'll check with Kevin and we'll get some little more specificity on
Okay.
what things are happening for the high school. And Doug too. I think
so
he's
Tom
ready.
Salmina, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
See a week.
Sorry, I just had to find the unmute button. I had to wake up first, but anyway, no, make a motion to adjourn, Tom Salamino.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for letting me, participate.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.